This meeting will be conducted in accordance with State of California Executive Order N-29-20 dated March 17th, 2020, and State of California Executive Order N-08-21. All members of the Psap are participating in this meeting by video conference with no physical meeting location. Members of the public wishing to observe the meeting live may do so on YouTube at mountainview.gov/YouTube or through this Zoom webinar. As noted on the meeting agenda, members of the public may provide oral public comments online during the public comment period for an item through this webinar or by phone by dialing 669-900-9128 and entering webinar ID 845-7353-9990. Any emails received by 4:30 p.m. today were forwarded to the PSAB. Emails received after 4:30 p.m. will not be read during the meeting, but will be entered into the record for the meeting. Mr. Gaines, can you take roll call, please?
Yes. Member Wang.
Present.
Member Sandhu.
Present.
Member Langton.
Present.
Member Brodowski.
Present.
Member Tang.
Present.
Vice Chair Frink.
Present.
And Chair Iyer.
Present.
You are all here.
Item 3 is oral communications from the public. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the subcommittee on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are allowed to speak on any topic for up to 3 minutes during the section. State law prohibits the PSAB from acting on non-agendized items. Would any member of the public like to provide comment on an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. Okay, looks like we have 2 raised hands. Mr. England, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I have a lot of things I want to say, but I try to trim it down. I just have 5 things, and I'm just going to plow through them. So we now know that the vaccinations are being required for city employees. This might not be a question anymore because I think that that requirement stands in pretty short order. They're going to be required by the end of October. I was curious if PD is going to have a different time frame for theirs, or if they're going to be implementing that in any particular kind of way. This is probably a long shot, but on the work plan looks really good to me. I only would like to see the item that says explore alternative responses to persons experiencing mental health crisis to include existing, because I think you want to look at the existing programs too, not just what might be put in place. The chair asked at the last meeting about seeing a slide set from the county. I don't know if that's been made available, but I know that members of the public would like to see that too. So be interesting to know status on that one, if we can see those slides. Question about the community mobile response program facilities for North County, if it's known yet where those facilities will go. And lastly, your governing documents for PSAB, I don't really see much. The advisory body's handbook hasn't been updated since you formed. It hasn't been updated since 2018. So, and there's nothing, you don't have bylaws. There's very little information. I was looking for something on how the subcommittees are operated and couldn't come up with anything. So I'm curious about your governing documents, if you're going to be developing any. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McKenzie, go ahead.
Hi, all. Thanks for giving me a moment to speak. This may be tangentially related to the last point that was just made, but I noticed last week after the city council meeting, there was communication from the city about upcoming city meetings and things. There was information about the Rental Housing Committee. There was information about the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, but there was no information about this meeting of the Public Safety Advisory Board. And I think we do really important work here. And I think we also have some fun together. And it would be great for these meetings to be shared more broadly with the public. I'm sure it was an oversight because this is a new board and there hasn't been the liaison with the communications team on the city, but I just wanted to bring that to attention and make sure that we're not excluding anyone from all the fun and important business that we have here.
Thank you. I don't see any more raised hands. So I'm going to close the oral communication from the public, but I would like to reiterate what I heard. And also, gosh, I think I can ask questions about what I heard, I think, Melvin?
Having the most trouble unmuting, sorry. Ask questions of whom? You should not ask questions of the public, but you can.
No, not of the public, of the folks that I'm seeing on my screen right now. Let me try, and then you cut me off if I'm doing something wrong. Okay. So I think there was a question about the city requiring vaccinations by the end of October, and is the PD timeframe the same? So Melvin, can I ask Captain Canfield to respond?
Or I can.
Or you can?
That's
Great.
a softball. The city vaccination requirements are the same for all employees, to the best of my knowledge. So I don't. We received one communication, and that went to all employees.
Okay. Mike, you're not nodding, you're not saying no, so I'm assuming you don't have anything to add?
My understanding is that's absolutely correct. I think Human Resources is evaluating across city employees broadly the vaccination records and the process for the compliance with the order from the city. Okay. But I don't think they're evaluating, actually I know they're not evaluating it any differently for the police department.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I also heard from the public that in the work plan where we're saying look at alternatives in the mental health space, make sure that we're also including existing programs. We're not just looking for alternatives, but there is some good work being done already. And so I guess we're looking for any evolution in programs or new programs. It doesn't have to necessarily be all alternatives. So I heard that. Yes, I did request a slide on all the mental health options available in city and county, and I believe that's being worked on. I don't have a time frame for it. Melvin, I don't know if you have an idea.
Can you clarify, just to make sure that I know what you are requesting? My recollection is that you requested for a slide. I watched a video when I was in the meetings, and you made a comment to Jan Morrow from the county that you'd like to see her slide on the different mental health responses that the county has to include what's going on in Mountain View.
Correct. At the BSU, I also wanted to make sure that the youth services were included as well. That's a lot for a slide, so I understand if the font's really small or if it spills over to 2 slides, but I think having everything in one space would be very helpful.
Yeah, I think that that's something that we can do, and we can also add it to the Psap web page. Sorry, so I'll work on getting that to you.
That would be great. And then there was a question about the facilities that are planned for the North County. Do we know the locations?
No, and the county is still identifying all of those, and they do have update meetings, and they're open to the public, and we all have the same ability to follow what the county is doing. I definitely will provide updates to this body when I receive updates from the county. But as of right now, they have not identified the 4 exact locations yet.
They have not. Okay, thank you. And then in terms of the handbook being updated to include governing docs for Psap, I I have to be honest, I didn't realize we need to do that. So Melvin, I'm looking at you again.
I will work with the clerk's office to make sure that whatever is standard for most advisory bodies is consistent, that this body has a similar
Okay,
representation in that document.
that would be great. And I wasn't sure exactly which mail Mr. McKenzie was referring to, but certainly if there were a list of upcoming meetings that were happening this week, or I don't know if the time frame was a week or 2 weeks, be good if the Psap meeting was included there. Is there any reason it wouldn't have been?
I'm not certain what Mr. McKenzie was referring to either, but as far as the PSAP's meetings and advertising of PSAP meetings, we do it on a website, and then we also will be adopting a schedule, an annual schedule of meetings, because we're a new body and we hadn't set kind of our regular meetings yet. That's still in progress, and we are yet to adopt that, but we are required to adopt a annual schedule of meetings for the remainder of 2021, as well as for 2022. And we will do the 2021 at next meeting. And then we will also be adopting a 2022 schedule of meetings by the end of this calendar year. And then that entire schedule will be on their website.
Okay. Mr. McKenzie, if you're still listening, feel free to forward me the mail that didn't include Psap, and I will share that, and we'll figure out if that is, if there's some reason that Psap's not included in there. Okay, and then Mr. England, I'm sure you'll let me know if I did not answer or if I missed any of your points. So, okay, so with that, we are going to move to section 4, Psap meeting minutes agenda approval. So you all would have had the link for the August 26th meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments or questions about that document? Joan, your hand is raised, but I don't know if that is inadvertent.
No, it wasn't inadvertent, but Melvin just answered all my questions. Because I needed the same clarification you did.
Okay, well, that's why he's a treasure. Thank you, Melvin. So anybody else have any questions or comments? I'm looking, I don't see any. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the August meeting minutes?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. So can we, with a show of hands, vote to approve the August meeting minutes? Okay. Cleve, we can't see your hand.
Well, I wasn't there, so I don't know how appropriate it is for me to participate.
Oh, you weren't there. That's right. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Right. You're abstaining. Okay.
I'm not. That's for July. I'm sorry. My bad.
You were there August 6th.
Yes, I was there for
August
August.
26th, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, so what is your hand doing, Cleve? You're gonna approve it? Okay. Eva? Yes? Okay. Melvin, it looks like we're unanimous approval of the minutes. Thank you.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to section 5, discussion action items. 5.1 is School Resource Officer Subcommittee. This is where the subcommittee will provide an oral update. And after that, we will open up for public comment, and then PSAB members will share any comments they may have. So Jeanette, do I have that right, that you will be leading the update?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. So for the survey that we're sending out, that we talked about in the past couple of meetings, we have reached out to the superintendents of the Mountain View Wisman School District and the Mountain View Los Altos School District to let them know that it's happening. And hopefully soon they'll send it out to their schools. So that'd be Mountain View High School and then the 2 middle schools in the Mountain View Wisman School District.
Mm-hmm.
We have that survey in English, Spanish, and it's being translated into Mandarin, so that's exciting. Right now we have around 60 responses. Melvin's nodding, so I say yes. Yeah, so we hope to see some more responses as well. And then we're gonna have that survey close around October 8th. If we don't feel satisfied with the number of responses, we might extend that by a week or so, but right now it's set for October 8th. So in addition to the survey, we're going to be having some conversations with Mountain View High School students on their thoughts regarding SROs. So next Monday, the 27th, we're having a conversation with we're having Mountain View High School students share their experiences, and we're gonna be there, we're gonna listen. And then we're also having another one with the Mountain View High School Associated Student Body on October 15th. And then another one we're gonna kind of set up with the help of the Associated Student Body so they can get a diverse voices a little bit later in October as well. We are open to having conversations about SROs, especially with students. So if any of you are in contact with some large groups of students, please let them know that that's happening, especially if they go into Mountain View High School or the Mountain View Wisconsin School District. I think that is the gist. Please fill in the blanks if I'm missing anything.
Okay.
Right. Sorry. And we're also working. Sorry.
I was gonna say, you can just talk about the survey a little bit more and just how who the target kind of survey takers are.
Okay. So our target, our like three audiences are the current students and recent graduates. So that's within recent graduates, it's within past 3 years of graduating high school. And we think this is important because a lot of the students who are in their grades right now haven't actually been in school in person for a while, so they wouldn't have had those consistent interactions. And then we're also trying to get responses from parents of current students and parents of recently graduated students, and then also from staff at the schools. So that's admin, teachers, and other staff.
Thank you. Joan, did you have a question?
I do. Can we have a copy of the survey?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah. Jeanette, can you send us a copy of the survey?
Yes, and I think Melvin can too. I don't know if I'm supposed to do it, but I can.
Yeah, and I guess what Joan is saying is like the actually, so she doesn't actually have to take it, but like.
Would you like it in Mandarin, English, or Spanish, Joan?
Joan.
I would prefer English.
In Punjabi,
that would be the best.
I'll send it to you.
I would struggle with Mandarin.
Okay. Other questions from Psap before I open it up to public comment?
Madam Chair, just a question. Just like to give compliments to both Melvin and the captain, Mike and Phil, and also, of course, great team of Jeanette and Eva, because without us working together and the support we had, this would have been very difficult to do. There were questions after questions. You feel like at the end of it, did we miss any? Yes, we probably did. Can we satisfy everybody? Absolutely not. But I think what came out of it is a pretty decent first survey for the Psap. And I think this is something we can work on. And we did get some feedback, which we talked in one of our meetings. And both Mike and Melvin were there to help us out to sort certain things, to correct the language, which is good. And we did have the, what's the chap's name? Alex, I think, who does the surveys and works with the city, the graduate student person from Berkeley. His input was very vital too. So overall, I think it's a piece of work. I think so, in a very good manner. It's done quite well. Uh, People will get upset if their questions are not there. Some people will think it's too long. We can't satisfy everyone, but overall, I think it's a splendid job. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate it. Other comments at this point or questions for the subcommittee? I guess I have one. Jeanette, I'm wondering, is it, I don't know if it's possible because of Brown Act, but are all three of you going to be at those meetings at Mountain View High? And if not, are there opportunities for other members of Psap to attend and observe?
So we are not all going to be at all of the meetings with the Mount View High School students.
Okay.
I think for the one on the 27th, Eva and I are going to be there.
Okay, so there's one this Monday.
Next Monday. Yes, this Monday, next Monday.
So that's the 27th. Okay. And you said there was one October 15th?
Yes, and that one is with Mountain View High School Associate Student Body students, and I will be there for that one. And if the other subcommittee members want to attend as well, that's okay. We just want to make sure that they're kind of comfortable, and I'm also kind of a student, so maybe that will help them feel like it's a little bit of a safer space.
Okay. I just wanted to express interest in attending if possible and if the students are comfortable, depending on the time, obviously, but my schedule is pretty flexible, so I should be able to make it work. I don't know. Member Sandhu, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, indeed. Three of us, if I'm not mistaken, Melvin, it'd be four. If there are four of us, that would violate the Brown Act, not any three members. So am I correct, Melvin?
You are correct, and I actually need to just verify with the city attorney's office to make sure that on this specific topic that it's okay to have, say, 2 subcommittee members and 1 non-subcommittee member to be present. I'll get confirmation on that and let you know.
Okay, thank you. Are there other board members that would be interested in attending any of these meetings? Joan, are you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm saying yes to that. I'd be interested.
Okay. So, yeah, if it looks like Derek, Cleve are interested. So, as space is available and we don't surpass 3, please let us know. We're interested in joining you.
I think for me, it'll just depend on scheduling. So when the date comes out.
Yep. Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, since I don't see any other hands raised, I'm going to go ahead and open it to public comment. I do want to thank all 3 members of the subcommittee. It sounds like this was a real labor of love, so I appreciate your time and effort to, not make 100% everybody happy, but it sounds like you really took an input and evolved the survey to meet as many of the requests as possible, and we appreciate that. Okay, so let's see if anyone has anything to say from the public. Mr. McKenzie, go ahead.
Hi all. Thank you to the subcommittee for the work you put in. I'd like to echo what one of the board members asked about actually being able to see the survey. Having it published in some sort of notes or minutes would be excellent. And I also I want to mention, as a member of the public, having seen in front of this board and city council over the past year, school kids organized to speak and say, please remove SROs from campus was really compelling to me. When I was that age, I didn't have the awareness of what was going on in my local politics to even go try to comment at a city council meeting, never mind try to mobilize my friends to come and speak to something that would be so important. I'm really impressed with what the kids in the area have done. It's amazing. And it seems like it's brave and a lot of hard work to stand up and ask these formal bodies when you're a kid to please make the school a safer place for some of us. I've found it particularly compelling, and I hope that we don't have to continue systems where we're asking our local kids to be doing these things. I just hope that can be kept in mind as the subcommittee and the board moves forward. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. No other hands are raised, so let me circle back to Psap members and board members, excuse me, if you have any further questions or comments for our subcommittee or on the report. Derek, go ahead.
I just want to again express, yeah, they're doing a great job. They seem very passionate about what they're doing, and I think I'm very proud for what they've done thus far and look forward to their future work.
Is there any objection from the subcommittee about making this survey public? How do you, or maybe we can also give you time to think about it. I'm wondering, I don't think there should be an issue. I don't think we want members of the public necessarily taking the survey, but unless they are in your specific target. In terms of making the contents of the survey available, I don't have an issue with it, but perhaps I'm not thinking through all of it. I wonder if members of the subcommittee see any issues with doing that.
I'd like to see the survey before I answer your question, Kavita.
That's a good point.
If I could interject, the survey is a public document that is required to be public. So Mr. McKenzie likes it. I think it would probably be most appropriate for me to just send it directly to Mr. McKenzie, as long with everybody else, as opposed to posting it on a website. And that's only because of the format of SurveyMonkey. It's just easy. It's not a pretty document, so I don't really want to put it on the web. I'd rather send it directly to him. But if this body desires for it to be put on the web, I can convert it to Word and make it a better, more presentable document. But it doesn't matter. It's public. I will provide it. I'll contact Mr. McKenzie after this and see if it's fine for me to just provide him a copy, as well as Joan and the rest of this body. And if it makes sense, I'll probably just try to post it on the website so that anybody can access it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see it in the SurveyMonkey presentation.
Sorry, could you say that again, Joan?
I would like to see it in the SurveyMonkey presentation. I assume that's the way people are looking at it.
Yes. So you will not be able to see the entire, if you were to use the link and to try to answer the questions, then you would only see the questions that correspond to your particular classification, whether you are a student, parent, or school staff. If I have the ability to PDF the entire survey, where you may see all of the questions. So I'll provide that to you, and it's from SurveyMonkey, but it's not the greatest format, but I'll provide it to you. And if it doesn't work, then I can send you something else.
That's all right. Thank you.
Member Sandhu, you had your hand raised.
Yes, actually, Melvin kind of answered it. I think the best way to do is a PDF document, not even Word, because Word can be manipulated. PDF too can, but PDF, that way nobody has to go through the entire thing of doing the survey and getting frustrated with it. You won't see all the questions. You only go to your particular category, administrator, parent, or student, things like that. So that's the best way to do it, I think. Thank you.
Okay. Member Langton?
Yeah, I just want to support it. I think it wouldn't be bad if we could all see a copy of it. So.
Okay. Yeah, Melvin, I don't know about posting it on the website, but I don't want to create a lot of work for you if you have to make it pretty and things. So maybe we can talk about that further. So.
I'll send the survey to everyone, including Mr. McKenzie, and we can go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, any other comments or questions before we close this section? I don't see anything. Okay.
Through the chair. So are there other, so the subcommittee is doing work on this, and just to remind you all kind of what the plan is with this exploration of school resource officers is that this body is going to be making a recommendation to the city council related to SROs, ideally in November, at the November meeting. We hope to have some summary findings from the surveys, as well as potentially some anecdotal just storytelling from what we learn in our different meetings, and to discuss that in October. And October is where I hope to provide that information to you all, what the survey results were, as well as what some of the findings that the subcommittee made, as well as any findings any of you make. So feel free to contact me if you have things that you'd like to put forward in a report prior to the meeting. But that will be coming, kind of the survey findings and the information gathering. We'll share that at our next meeting in October. And then in November, we plan to kind of fine tune what the recommendations this body will be making to the city council are.
Member Brodowski?
Yes, I'm just wondering, Melvin, how you envision that, if you would be collating and interpreting the data, or if you would be just giving us the crude results, which is what I'd like to see, if that's possible.
The survey results, I can provide that because its survey is completely anonymous. We have no privacy to kind of, I can just give you the survey results, and I can also provide you with a summary of those results, the raw data as well as a summary.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Different members are having meetings with different bodies, and they'll be able to share, what they learned from those meetings. And all of that can inform the recommendation that this body.
I have one more question, if I can barge right in and ask it. How many surveys responses do you expect to get, Jeanette?
So right now we have around 65, and we definitely want to exceed that number. We hope that after we have the conversations with, after we have the school principals send out the survey to all the students, which has not happened yet, that we will have more responses. Specific number, not sure.
Do you think it'll be a few hundred or a few thousand?
I think that it'll probably be closer to a few hundred.
Thank you.
If it's in the thousands, we may need more time to
Well, I thought I'd
evaluate the
alert you,
data.
I thought I might just indicate you could be seeing a few thousand.
Okay, is everyone comfortable and clear on the process of this going forward? Thank you for walking us through that, Melvin. Okay, so with that, I think we're going to move on to section 6. This item is board staff comments, questions, and committee reports. No action will be taken on any questions raised by Psap at this time. Do any Psap members or staff have comments or questions? Well, I can start. I've got kind of an update. This kind of is related to, it is related to what we just talked about, but I wasn't not officially the subcommittee, so I thought maybe I'd wait until now to talk about my stuff. So in my attempt to information gather, and I've shared this with some of you, I've decided to kind of talk to some of the school staff, because I just want to know how they work with SROs, what are they expecting them to do, just to understand from both sides what the role looks like. And I was at Graham Middle School last Monday, and I met with a at-risk school supervisor. His name is Arturo Noriega. And this was after I had just gone to the school and said, hey, this is who I am. I'm interested in speaking to staff. And everyone was very, very welcoming and said, Arturo said, start with me, and then you can move on to the principal, vice principal, the SCEF, which is the school community, what's the E? School community, something facilitator, and engagement, maybe. So as I was coming out of the meeting with Arturo, I bumped into Heidi Galassi, who's the principal at Graham, and I know her from when my son was at Landals, and was like, oh, hey, we'll be coming to see you. I'm going to extend, the invitation to others on the board to, join me to come and talk to you. And she said, unfortunately, we're actually not allowed to speak with you right now. You need to go and talk to the PIO at Graham. And the PIO is the Public Information Officer. I didn't want to do that because I wasn't sure of that person's proximity to SROs. I think the real value is speaking to people who interact with SROs. And so with Melvin and Mike's help, there was a reach out to Superintendent Rudolph, and it was clarified that I should speak with him to kind of explain what we were doing and who we are a bit more. And then hopefully he would give the okay to speak with members of middle school and even elementary school, if needed, staff. I just wanted to report back to this group that it's been more than a week since I reached out and I have not heard anything back. And so the information gathering on SROs for the Wistman School District has not progressed any further, unfortunately. So that's a quick update, and hopeful that with a number of people reaching out to Superintendent Rudolph on my behalf, that will change. But unfortunately, right now, I have spoken with one person, and we're kind of in a limbo here. I had a different experience. I reached out to Mountain View High again with the idea to just speak to some folks and then look at the landscape to identify opportunities for other members of Psap to interact with folks who interact with SROs. So last Friday, Joan actually and I both went, and we met with the principal and the 4 vice principals at Mountain View High. What I wanted to relay to the group is, as we're looking for additional opportunities to information gather, the staff at Mountain View High had some ideas for us, and I wanted to put that out to the group and kind of gauge interest. So first of all, there is a parent group at Mountain View High called the Latino Parent Organization. It's also known informally as El Cafecito. And so the offer has been made to actually arrange one-on-one or smaller group meetings with parents from that organization to talk about their view on SROs and their interactions, etc. And obviously to get them the survey as well. So that's one thing. The second offer was to facilitate a conversation with the PTA, and through the PTA, potentially with more parents. So that might be another route for the survey. So I wanted to advise on that. The third offer was to connect us with a teacher, and there may be more than one, who has taught both at Los Altos High and Mountain View High, to kind of get their take. Since they're an ELD or English Language Development teacher, they are in contact with SROs because of the nature of the kids in their classes, and get their take on SROs at Los Altos High, SRO interaction at Mountain View High. So that's another offer. I actually had a request to speak to the Mountain View High teacher who had a testimonial on the Justice Vanguard site. I just thought it would be interesting to speak with her, so I've requested that. And finally, one of the things I think as Psap that we hear from students from Los Altos High is that their students of color are triggered by policemen being on campus. And so, Jeanette, I know that you're looking at diverse, some sort of forum for to speak with diverse students. I wanted to say that Assistant Principal Robel has offered to actually organize a safe forum for students of color, so we can ask our questions. And so maybe you and I can chat offline to see how to, maybe if it makes sense to bring these two efforts together. So I wanted to share with you that I thought Mountain View High was very open, and they have this list of opportunities for us to interact with people, or people in general, parents, students who've interacted with SROs. And I'd really, schedules permitting, love as many folks from the board to participate in those, right? Because I think just hearing from a couple of us of what we heard is one thing, but wouldn't it be wonderful if we all have things to report back at the meeting in October? So I'll stop there and get some thoughts or feedback. Joan?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing that to me was important when they were talking about the group of Latino parents. I wondered what percentage of the student body was Latino, and it's about 25%. I also asked what percentage of the student body was Black, and they said 3%. I didn't ask about any other colors. So I thought that was important to have in the light of what you're reporting.
Thanks, Joan. I am going back and forth between first names and member, and I apologize. So Jeanette, I see your hand is raised.
Okay. Yes, I think all of those avenues sound great. And since I think you already have established a connection, it'd be great if you could let them know that we're interested in them. I emailed the PTSA chairperson, but I think it kind of just looked like a random email from a student. So it'd be great if you could pursue that path. And yes, I think we should definitely talk about combining the conversations for students of color.
Okay, great. Thank you. Cleve?
I just was going to say, I also separately, and unbeknownst to you guys, had also been having some informal chats with folks that are in my orbit from the work that I've been doing in the past, just getting information about their experiences. And so I'll have to figure out a way to make it a little bit more formal. So I've spoken to folks at NVWSD as well as some of the folks at Mountain View, the Saltos district. So we can chat offline, Kavita, about that.
Great. Jeanette, your hand's still raised, but I don't know if that's a remnant.
So just want to limit the offline chat about this SRO topic let's not form a serial meeting and begin discussing this offline outside of the subcommittee. So just be careful. And if all else fails, just run it by me and I'll run it by the city attorney's office to make sure.
Thank you
Sure.
for the.
What I was saying, Melvin, is if I can set something up, then we get to Kavita so she can make it more of a formal thing. If that makes.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, though, for the reminder, Melvin. It's always good as some of us sort of come to grips with how this all works. So, other thoughts? I'm gonna just as these opportunities get set, if it makes sense, I was gonna just propose working with Melvin to get the opportunities out to you, and people can sign up for whatever suits their schedule, if that makes sense. So, and obviously we're limited to a maximum of 3 folks at any given thing, right? Just because of the guidelines that we're governed by. Jeanette?
Yes, I remembered. I actually did have a purpose to raise my hand.
Okay.
Were you able to get the survey to the principal and vice principal, assistant principals at Mountview High School?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know if they're going to be able to share that with the student body and the staff?
They didn't see an issue with it, but they were going to connect with Nellie. Because I guess there's kind of 2 streams, and that's okay because that means hopefully one of them will stick and get through. But yeah, they didn't see any issue doing that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I also want to advise that there is in my attempt at information gathering, I reached out to the SROs themselves and set up some time because I wanted to talk about 3 things. I wanted to talk about the complaints that had been raised. There aren't many, but I wanted to talk about the ones that had come to my attention. I want to talk about kind of their day-to-day and how they're interacting with students, and once a student gets on their radar, how do they support them, and just how that all works. And then the third thing I wanted to get into is if there's a clean slate, how would they design an SRO program, just out of curiosity, right? If just blank slate, what would you dream up? And so I had part 1 of that meeting. I just did that on my own. It just kind of came together really quickly. I didn't have a chance to pull anybody else in. But I would encourage you all, if you have questions about the complaints or anything else, to reach out to the SROs. They're very accessible. But I was able to set up a follow-on meeting in which my objectives are to discuss, again, day-to-day activities and how they reach out to students that they want to support, and then also the clean slate, blank slate question. That meeting is on October 6th. With the recommendation of Melvin, I wanted to invite members of the SRO subcommittee to that. I already reached out to Jeanette and to Eva. Member Sandhu, I don't know if this is of interest to you or if it fits your schedule at the moment, but we can discuss what makes sense. Since I set up the meeting, I'm planning to be there, so 2 out of 3 of you would be great to come if it suits your schedule. So I want to make people aware of that. Again, if you can't come to that, or if because we're limited to 3, we can't include you this time, please do, if you have questions, reach out to them and meet with them yourself. It doesn't have to be this meeting or no meeting, right? Feel free to be to advocate for time, and I think you'll get a response. Member Sandhu?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I can't be here on October 6th. I'm leaving on Thursday to teach in Switzerland for 2 weeks. So,
Okay.
unfortunately, I can't. I would have loved to meet there. So maybe another opportunity will rise. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think that's why Melvin guided me more towards Jeanette and Eva. So that makes sense now. Derek? Are you on mute?
Um,
There you go.
I was gonna say, is it possible for Melvin or someone to send out an email to the PSAB with like the contact information for the SROs if we wanted to reach out to try and talk to them?
It'd probably be easiest if you shot me an email and then I did an introduction to Sergeant Kearns to
Okay.
coordinate a meeting. I think that's probably the easiest. Melvin, if you'd like it any other way, let me know. But
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Joan, is your hand up again?
Yes, it's
Okay.
up because I have a question, and it comes from the fact that I've been talking to people in Mountain View about their experiences with SROs. And so we're always talking about what goes on in this community. Today I talked with my niece who teaches chemistry in a high school in Charleston, South Carolina. And I said, do you have cops in your school? And she said, oh yeah, we have 3. And she began to describe something which is a group of 3 cops who are in the school all the time, and they're there to make arrests. And I just, my hair stood on end. My question is, and this goes to Mike Kenfield or anybody else who might know, Derek. Are we really in a bubble here in Mountain View? Is there is our way of doing things different from the rest of the United States, or is it South Carolina that's in a kind of bubble? Or all of the above?
I think, I don't know if we're in a bubble, but I do think that we're a special place with a very special community, school district, police department, and school resource officers. I'm sure there are other places that do great jobs, but I don't know if any, and I know there's work for us to improve upon, but I don't know if anybody does it as well as we do. I'm sure some other people would disagree, but I can't speak for what policing is like in South Carolina or the needs of the community are, but I do think we're a really special community, and this community has a very special police department.
Does anybody else have an experience? How about you, Derek? Do you know anything?
Yeah, so I have a personal friend that used to be an SRO for the city of Hanover, Massachusetts. He's a really nice guy. He was in a more of a civilian capacity, but he had law enforcement background. He was like a retired sheriff. And yeah, he was there he wasn't a police officer, but he was, there as a school resource officer. And his focus was around, developing relationships with the students. He wasn't armed. He wasn't there, in really an enforcement capacity. But I also do have other friends that have been there, and their role has been more fearful than collaborative. So I've seen both sides of the spectrum, where it was a representative of a police department that was there. They saw it more as an enforcement role, more so in the high school, where there was gangs and, with the older kids. So those are my 2 kind of experiences.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, my experiences in the cities that I've lived in, 2 in Florida and 1 here. In Orlando, the department is very big. It's over 700 sworn officers, and so they have a group of guys who are able to just serve schools. And because it's such a large agency, they don't necessarily have to be in full gear all the time. And so sometimes they dress down and they wear just polos and khakis, and they don't have their entire tool belt with them. Other times they do, but their set of issues and problems in that community is a lot different than what we have here. And they do have gangs, and they do have drugs, and they do have incidents involving illegality in the school that they have to respond to as police officers, who are specifically trained to work with children. And then they also do, they assist with child safety issues and truancy and other things. And so it's a different, it's just modeled slightly different. In my smaller town of Melbourne, where I'm from, it's even a little different there because it's a smaller town. They don't have gangs there, and while it's not, but I don't think it's as familiar as we have it here. But the officers are there again more as part of a lighter duty enforcement package than, like a regular police officer off the street coming into a school and treating a student like they would treat anybody else. It's not done the same way. So it feels like different departments just do it differently. And my experience here in this city has been vastly different. And the officers here are really a lot more of a resource than they are working as an enforcement agent in the school. This is just my personal experience. And it's a really refreshing look from where I sit.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for your input, everybody.
Thank you. Other comments or thoughts on this topic or other business? Okay, I don't see anything. Okay, if there is no other topics, then we're going to move on to the final item of tonight's agenda, which is, Derek.
Yeah, I just on the vaccination thing, as far as Mountain View requiring like all, I don't know, employees be vaccinated, can they do some policy to like encourage like board members and volunteers, or like, is there any research and anything going on into that? I don't know. Is that off topic?
Did you ask if can you reword that question? Are you asking if the city will also require board members and volunteers to be vaccinated?
Yeah, like try, I don't know, or at least try to encourage it or something, like.
Yeah, I think the city might be trying to encourage vaccination, but I don't know if it has the authority to require volunteer. Yeah. But that is something that I believe the city is considering, just kind of what for board members, and if the city council decides to come up with a policy like that, then that might be something that we decide to extend to board members. Depending on the type of volunteers, I believe that like if you're volunteering for a youth program, the city might say you must be vaccinated to do that. But so I believe the city has authority to do different requirements. But as of right now, the policy is for employees.
Okay, just at any rate, I just want to express my support for what they're doing, and however all encompassing it can become, I think it'll be great. So thanks.
The city has put forth a significant amount of effort to assist the county in standing up a vaccination clinic at the community center. I know that's not exactly supporting or requesting volunteers and board members to be vaccinated, but we have made it and helped make it a lot easier to be vaccinated in the city of Mountain View.
Okay. Other items of business? All right. Then I'm going to try one more time to move on to the final item of tonight's agenda, which is adjournment. Can someone motion for adjournment, please?
Motion.
Okay. Thank you. Everyone in agreement? Okay. Then I will say this meeting is adjourned at 8:04 p.m. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. See you guys later.
Comparatively shorter than last time, huh?
Yeah, this is like, oh my God, I'm going to bed early.
He wasn't there. He knew that was going to be that long.
All right, good night.